Here we go then in the Ford GT40, an absolute beast of a car. We need to keep the car under control going through the parabolica to get a good exit, carry the speed all the way down this long straight and into Curva Grande. Looking like we got a good exit there now. So getting up into 5th gear around the sort of start finish line, just before usually. You can see there I achieved silver on that lap, but we want gold. Silver's no good, gold is what we want. So I'm at 10th lap already, and we're going into Curva Grande. I brake much later, going down into 4th, scrub the speed off as I'm turning, get back on the accelerator as hard as possible, keep the car going in a straight line as much as possible, but you do go sideways in this car quite a lot. Then we get up to 5th, braking at about 150 metres, down into 4th, into 3rd, keep it away from that curb. I've touched the curb there, so it's unsettling the car, trying to keep it in a straight line. It really wants to go me. Keeping it in 3rd there, could have got it down to 2nd if I was stable. Going round the next Lesmo, we've got to accelerate up through the gears, into 4th, into 5th. You can see there with 3.8 tenths up. We've lost a little bit of time through the Lesmos. Looking for your turning in points, so this next left-hand flick, you need to really flick it in before you even see the apex. Keep the speed up into the parabolica. We need to scrub the speed off quickly, so we're going to brake at around 200 metres. Get down through the gears, into 4th, into 3rd, keep on braking, go into 2nd. Then you're going to need to balance the car through the corner, get on the accelerator, get a good exit. Try and keep the car from going sideways, because it'll want to do that all the way through this corner. And now you can just concentrate on getting up through the gears nice and smoothly, minimise that steering input, and get across the line as quick as possible. There it is, a gold achievement again. There's definitely time in that lap. So let's have a look at the details, and let's have a look at that setup. So starting with the setup, you want to click into gears and lower the final gear ratio as low as possible. Then go into tyres, it's 28, 28, 28, 28. Fuel, I lowered it to 15 litres. Alignment, 1.1, 1.1, 17, 17, 14, 14, 0 and 0. And then with dampers, I didn't change anything. Generic, up the engine limiter as high as you want. Doesn't matter if you damage the engine a little bit, and there's no need to change anything on the suspension. Right, so looking at the telemetry, obviously the map looks like it's going to be confused again. It looks like we're doing the outer loop of the old circuit, but we haven't, obviously we know that. So segment 8 is actually parabolica. It's the sort of beginning part of the corner. And looking at our difference to, no, the speed, sorry, we are losing time at the beginning of the corner, allegedly, but also midway through the corner. We lose a tenth and then another tenth as we oversteer in the middle to the exit of the corner. So we go from 1 tenth down to 2 tenths down, and then down the main straight we're losing slightly down there as well. The braking at this point, obviously that's the end of the braking zone, so we need to go to segment 7 just to have a look at the braking zone. Right, so that looks fairly even with the braking zone there. I would say that my previous fastest lap, I come off the brake, but I reapplied earlier. I didn't do that as much with my fastest lap, so there's nothing really to learn there so much. The racing line, obviously we can see, is very much the same. Throttle, right, I go on the accelerator probably a little bit too hard, and then it oversteers, and then I'm on and off the throttle, and then later on you can see I upshift later. So obviously I'm not coming out to that corner quite as fast as my best lap, my previous best lap, sorry. So let's have a look. Oversteering, things like that, we're not going to learn anything. So that's probably all I can really learn there, is I wasn't smooth enough through that corner. I oversteered and lost time. So let's have a look at the Lesmo 1. which is segment 4 on this one. Obviously, it thinks it's a straight if you look at the map, but it's actually Lesmo 1 if you look at the racing line analysis. You can see, obviously, I've had a big oversteer moment, and that's why the racing line's all over the place. We remember that from the lap where I hit the curb. But also my previous best lap as well, I had a similar issue where I was gaining speed nicely and then lost time. So yeah, my focus zone just shows where the oversteer cost me a lot of time, and I was fighting the car and I was trying to get on the power, but obviously having to control the amount of throttle as well. And on my previous best lap, I actually did quite a smooth Lesmo 1, but I broke for Lesmo 2 when I probably didn't need to. I did get a better exit out of that corner though, which obviously is easier when you get the speed right, and I do hit the apex better. But because of my better exit out of Lesmo 1, you can see the speed I'm gaining here. Looking at the throttle, you can see I get onto the throttle quicker, but not to full throttle because I'm fighting the car, whereas on my previous best lap, I again have that oversteer, but I'm on the throttle 100% more often than not compared to my previous lap. And I have lost a little bit of time through Lesmo 2 by running slightly wide on the apex. Now segment 1 is where I gained a lot of time. We'll have a look to see where I've gained time, because that's obviously interesting to know. This is all the straight here, so you can see that I'm faster all the way down that straight, and then I brake later as well. So combined, that's where I'm gaining the time, is just doing it that little bit later. So I'm about a tenth of a second up before it gets into the braking zone of my previous best lap. And then I just brake later, probably about 50 meters later, which is quite a lot, but I was still learning the car and the track at this point. My braking curves look similar. I would say perhaps I got off the brake a bit smoother on my previous best lap, which I think I got a slightly better exit out of the corner as well, so that just shows a bit of balancing. So yeah, if you look at the speed again, I'm faster in, I brake later, but then if you look at the trend, I accelerate out of the corner better than what I did on my best lap as well. So there's still things to be learned. So I hope you enjoyed that challenge. It was with the Ford GT40 on Monza 1966 road course. It was nice to drive an older car again, having had more modern cars recently in my challenges. The Ford GT40 was made by Ford to compete solely, basically, in the Le Mans race, and it was to go against the Ferrari, which Ferrari kept them winning between 1960 and 1965. They just kept them winning. So the Ford was made to compete against them, and it actually won between 1966 and 1969. There was a good film made about this, which I watched fairly recently. So it's a new film, as in 2019. It was called Ford versus Ferrari. It had Christian Bale in it and Matt Damon, and I really enjoyed it, to be honest. So if you want to know more about the Ford GT40, I highly recommend watching that film. Obviously, being an older car, I had to use my stick shift, so I was using my H pattern to do the gear shifting, having to use the clutch and making sure I get the revs right. I didn't do heel and toe or anything like that. To be honest, this car doesn't really need it. It's quite forgiving with low revs as long as you're not too low. The only thing you have got to take into account is obviously making sure your downshifts are good. Because if you shift into a low gear too quickly, it'll want to throw the car off balance and sideways. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have got any suggestions or if there's a particular challenge you want me to try next, just let me know in the comments. Cheers to that.